where you are right now with like, if you're in
Oh, Jesus. Like, where are you leaning?
was you rubbernecking while I was listening?
Yeah, it seemed like it. I wasn't sure where we were going there. Sorry. What if I stand up? Oh, Jesus Christ, don't do that.
You guys are animals.
Sorry, we're late.
Oh, dude.
We moved to the other trailhead. We were on the other side of the road and it's closed.
Did you ride all the way down?
We did, yeah.
Chilly or?
Not bad. Okay. I'm actually pretty hot right now.
Okay.
It's probably warmer up there.
Yeah, it might be.
Honestly,
really?
Yeah.
Sheltered from the wind a little.
Yeah, it's been, no.
I'm Nick, by the way.
Nick, I don't think we've met.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Alex.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at that beauty. Purple.
You like that?
Oh, yeah.
Sick.
The beach cruiser wouldn't work with the saddles, and we had to go high performance.
Nice. You can haul ass on that thing.
Hello, my name is Alex Howes,
I'm Grant Koontz.
and we're out here with our friends at Wove Saddles. And we're going to ride around on this Cannondale tandem.
Not a Cannondale. It's a Burley. Alex here has raced the Tour de France, all the Grand Tours, all the road races.
Grant's, I don't know, done one Olympics at least, you know, many world championships.
Yeah.
I don't know, we don't have a lot to say about ourselves, frankly.
We live up in the mountains, not together.
No, you don't even have to be a genius to understand that other people aren't geniuses, you know. They make questionable decisions sometimes.
Especially in the bike world, lots of questionable decisions.
Yeah, and we're making one right now.
We're making it.
Let's go.
Let's hit it.
Oh. I try not to steer as much as possible. That's what. I'm trying to get this damn pedal in.
Are you still not clipped in?
Yeah, let's coast for a second.
I'm Grant Koontz. I race mostly for the national team on the track. Former pro on the road and gravel. And Netherlands, Colorado resident.
On the back here, Alex Howes. Yeah. Raced a lot of road in my life. 11 years world tour. Finished up with EF. Last few years doing privateer gravel, adventure racing, tour dividing, fat biking, I don't know. All that stuff. Tandeming. Also Netherlands.
Fat biking for training or any racing?
I have raced it, yeah.
Have you raced fat bike?
But racing fat bikes is a different thing, though. I don't know if that's a sport we even talk about. It's a different kind of sport.
Yeah.
Was it a 24-hour race?
That one I did was 20-something hours, yeah. It was pretty fun. It was cold, if you can believe it.
So Grant, you went to the Olympics 2000, just what past year, 2024.
Yeah.
Once you get around the corner. Is that wanting to flare out?
I think I got it. I don't have much else to do back here. We're riding, but I'm working on bikes at the same time.
So talk us through just a little bit, Grant, just about your Olympic experience and then racing in Europe afterwards and what happened in your last European track race.
Yeah, so basically we had our whole we finished up our Olympic qualifying season in April last year, and then we didn't have any races between then and the Olympics.
Okay.
So there was a big selection process between April, I guess, and June, and then I came out on top, so I got the spot, and then kind of spent the whole summer training for the games, and I would say 2/3 of that was at home in Ned, mixing between Ned and Boulder. Obviously, I do kind of my high intensity stuff down here as much as possible, and lower intensity stuff up high. And then we went to Belgium for the final build into Paris, and did a lot of track sessions there. Did a lot of training on the track here actually, and on the Boulder Valley Velodrome. Luckily we have a local track. A lot of people don't, so that was really helpful for training too. But the whole build honestly was like the most special part. Like the 3 months leading into the Olympics were almost more special to me than the Olympics themselves, and I think that's kind of reminiscent of kind of the philosophy that I've taken to the sport, which is like fall in love with the process and fall in love with, like, I guess what it takes to get there, more so than the destination itself. And I feel like that was kind of an eye-opener, because it was like an event that in a way my whole life's been building up to, but at the same time it was a lot of the process of getting there. I almost enjoyed that more than the Olympics themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was and then I kind of finally took a honeymoon after that. Went to Nice with my wife and spent some time off the bike, and then ramped back up for the World Championships in Copenhagen in October, and we got 5th in the team pursuit there, which was a huge step forward for our program. And basically that put us on the path to moving towards LA already. It's already kind of looking forward, so yeah, that's what that's looking like.
And Alex, do a brief introduction for yourself as well, and also I'm curious to hear when Grant's talking about focusing on the process, and yourself having gone from Pro Tour, now gravel. Curious if you have any thoughts about that, about like focusing on the process rather than just where you are right now with like, if you're in the
Oh, Jesus. Where are you leaning?
was you rubbernecking while I was listening?
Yeah, it seemed like it. I wasn't sure where we were going there. Sorry.
I'm letting you get the
Yeah, I was like, oh, don't do that. That's not, whoa. Car up. I gotta get back on this thing. Dang it. That was weird. That was weird. I think we gotta just stick with what we're doing. No screwing around. They could just use the audio, they don't need to see anything. What if I stand up? Oh, Jesus Christ, don't do that. Don't do that. All right. I think I did a little intro already, but yeah. Alex Howes, coming from Netherlands as well. We're Ned residents, that's why we're willing to ride this silly tandem. Grant's talking about the process here, how much he loves it. He calls it a process, I call it a lifestyle, man. This is just what we're doing. Yeah, I've been riding bikes for a long time, and I don't know, frankly, yeah. The travel and racing part of it is one part, but just sort of like being able to get out, adventure, train. I don't know, it's a good way to live your life, frankly, and that's kind of why I've been doing it as long as I have, I think.
Something I'm curious about is, so you made the transition from the World Tour. Last year was a focus on Lifetime Series. This year is not focusing. You'll be doing Lifetime races, but you'll also be doing other. I believe you're doing Belgian Waffle, maybe is that, or you're doing.
Oh man, that's a great question. Who knows? Frankly, last year was focused on the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It went very poorly, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
For some reasons I could control and a lot of reasons I couldn't.
Okay.
And last year I was thinking that might be my last year racing.
Okay.
Flat out. And not to sound egotistical or anything, but it just really pissed me off. Yeah. And I was like, you only get one last year. And I said, all right, let's go a lot faster. Let's go faster and try and kick some butt and then hang it up. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I'd like to go a lot faster than the Grand Prix, frankly.
Now,
and other races. But so what does the calendar look like?
I'm also curious, you know, with you saying it's about the lifestyle, some folks would have some, I'm only hypothesizing, having not raced in the World Tour, but there might be a sense of your identity tied to racing at that level, and then switching to gravel, and then, like you said, this last year pissed you off some. So in addition to it being a lifestyle, like, I guess, how have you dealt with like the slight identity shifts going from one type of cycling to another to focusing on this year? You said just going fast.
Good question. I don't know. It's a funny thing when you realize that yes, you like the process, but yes, you really like to just race. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, man, I really like to race. And it might be a huge wake-up call, you know, next year when I'm like, nope, I'm not racing, you know? But all that said, even when I was World Tour racing at the highest level, the adventure aspect of cycling, I mean, that was the whole reason I was drawn to it from the very beginning, was being able to, I mean, the reason I started riding as much as I did when I was a little kid was because I could leave the house and go around the block and, you know, go find something new, go find something cool. And that's honestly the thing that really gets me out the door every day, is like, all right, let's go find something. I'm not sure what that something is, but it sure does feel good to be in motion.
And we could also let this be a conversation between the two of you also. So Grant, like if that makes you think of anything, you don't have to wait for me to ask something.
Yeah, I guess I would just spin off of that with the lifestyle piece, is that the identity piece and the lifestyle piece, I feel like, go hand in hand, and that's something that a lot of careers and a lot of paths in life don't necessarily lend themselves to. It's like, it is an identity because it is consuming. It is something we've done for years and years and years, and the adventure aspect is also like, that's a lifestyle and an identity as well. It's like, it's all wrapped up in one. You can't really put a finger on exactly what that means, but I think there's definitely a large piece of adventure seeking in my cycling journey as well, and that's one of the things that excites me and keeps me going, is going to new places, exploring the world as much as possible and exploring myself as much as possible. And I think it is a lifestyle. It is like, it's not just a thing we do, it's who we are.
It's not just going to the Olympics. It's
right.
Not just racing a Grand Tour. Or,
right.
Or as you said earlier, Strada Bianca. Or it's okay. That I'm curious. For your own separate reasons, what drew you to living in Netherlands? Hey, you guys don't know why that's a choice. You know, you're older, you know, Netherlands is that's a choice.
I was born this way. I don't know. Not a choice. I think my answer is probably more simple than maybe Alex's, but my wife already lived there, so. It was about chasing what I love, and that's what brought me to Boulder in the first place. It was chasing cycling, and then obviously Netherlands is a pretty damn good place to ride a bike to, and with my wife already living there, the altitude, I go back and forth about pros and cons of what the altitude does for my training, but it's all about chasing what I love, and that's kind of, again, back to the lifestyle and the identity piece. That's kind of what my life's been largely about, for better or worse, is chasing what I love, and that's what took me to Ned. But
I just got priced out of Boulder, you know. I was ready to buy a house, and I looked at my wife and I said, babe, we can go out east and we can live in the burbs, or we can go up the hill and we can get real weird. She said, I guess we go up the hill. I said, that's the right answer, because you already married a weird guy. I don't know. I love it up there. I mean, the rides that you can do up there, and you just have access to just big mountains, big adventure, and yeah, I wouldn't change it at all. I love it.
Yeah, my favorite part of living in Boulder was always riding in the mountains anyways, so why not just go down there anyway, go up there in the first place? Like,
the only thing that's a bummer up there is you get your butt kicked by the wind. Pretty bad. We get triple digits pretty regularly.
Yeah, that's what I see on the maps. So
Yeah.
That's why I'm always curious.
Yeah, I mean, we get probably 6 or 7 hurricanes a year. All jokes aside, if you eliminate the water aspect, right? Literally by wind speed, it's 6 or 7 hurricanes a year. So.
I mean, this past week I saw triple digits
Yeah,
on the map.
it wasn't too bad, but it was funny. Last year they shut down the power for like 4 or 5 days.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh man, it wasn't even that windy. And I drove around and there were trees in all the power lines, and we have a travel trailer that we go to a bunch of the races in, and that thing moved like 3 or 4 feet. So I guess it was pretty windy. Turns out, 126 mile an hour is the windiest I've seen. It's pretty windy.
So you two have ridden together in the past and trained together.
Yeah.
And so
This morning.
moving down here.
That's right.
Yeah. So how did you two find each other for training?
I'd say pretty organically. Netherlands not that big of a place. There's two guys that take bike riding pretty seriously sometimes and pretty not seriously sometimes, and I think kind of made us 2 peas in a pod. But there's kind of a cool niche of very elite athletes that live in Ned, and for the longest time I didn't consider myself one of them, and then I started hanging out with Alex, and then I felt like a cool kid again. So
Grant fits right in up there. When I first met Grant, he was living in his truck, going all the group rides, trying to be somebody.
trying to be somebody.
And I was like, oh yeah, you'll fit right in the Ned.
Where's some of the other athletes up there? I know Ruth's up there.
Yeah, Ruth
Yeah.
Winter's up there. Allison Powers, she did
Yeah.
a lot of big races back in the day.
Allison was the last woman, I believe, to win the U.S. Pro Time Trial, road race, and crit all in the same year.
Yeah, she did do that.
She did do that.
She
She's
did
my
do
neighbor.
that. I remember that.
She's my neighbor and my wife's ex-coach. So that's actually what brought my wife up there, was Allison Powers. She's kind of the reason for all of us being up there.
Okay.
But
Timmy Dugan, he's
Timmy.
also up there.
Yeah.
Former Olympian, former national champion.
yeah. You got, who else?
I don't know, there's a handful.
Ann Tromley.
Mm-hmm.
She's a former Olympic mountain biker from like 2000.
So you're about to have a child, right?
I am.
I
Alex led the way. He's giving me all the secrets.
was gonna say, and you have one child, Alex?
Just one.
How old is she?
She's 4.
4?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, she's tough. I don't know. First 3 years are a breeze. Right now, it's turning into a thing, you know?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but I'm about to find out.
Start wondering. I'm telling you, first 3 years, everybody's like, man, you guys are the best parents, and you got the best kid.
Nobody says that anymore, huh?
Nobody says that anymore. Just think, man, this is turning into a thing.
So, what sort of sage advice have you gotten from Alex, or what are you doing to prepare to be a father here, Grant?
Right now, he's just packing snacks for the hospital.
Yeah, we talked about that on the way down.
Yeah.
Packing snacks for the hospital bag. Make
Yeah.
sure you don't spend $38 on a sandwich at the hospital. And my wife's doing like 2 weeks, so
Okay.
where the clock's ticking. It's kind of the calm before the storm, but I think, I don't know, Alex just keeps saying the beginning's real easy, so that's what I'm ready for.
Yeah, the first 3 days are, I don't know, they're all different, right? You know? Like you could be in the hospital for 2 months, like, but if things go well, it's really just kind of, as the dad, there's not a lot to do. You just make coffee and stay the hell out of the way. You got to be nice. Definitely be nice. Try and enjoy it, have fun, hang out with your kid.
How has being a father affected you getting out and training?
How does it?
Yep.
Like I said, the first few years, easy. And then after that, oh boy, they start talking to you. They start having ideas of their own. Then things get a little more complicated. But now she's in school, so it's kind of flipped over again. Now it's pretty nice. I don't know. The longer trips are what gets hard. You know.
Being away.
Yeah, being away, and kids like routine a lot. So once you start disrupting that routine a little,
Has she come on the road with you?
oh yeah, last 2 years on the gravel circuit. So we have that travel trailer, and I think we went to just about every single race as a family, which super rewarding, like super fun.
Is that going to be part of the plan this year?
A little bit less so,
Go.
just with school and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, to an extent.
Cool.
But I mean, like in 2 weeks here, I'll be going down to Colombia for a couple weeks.
Okay. What's that trip? Is that just pure training or race?
Yeah, it's this Transcordilleras bikepacking race.
Okay.
Should be pretty fun because you get to sleep, you know, which is kind of a problem with a lot of those bikepacking events. But this one, you stop every day. It's like a stage race, but you got to carry your own stuff. So it should be super fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. Big days on the bike, you know, really breaking in the Wove saddle and eating a lot of mangoes.
On the gravel bike?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, she'll be at home for that, so you're like, all right, whatever.
That's cool.
She'll be okay.
That sounds like that's high altitude also.
Yeah. I mean, Colombia makes Colorado's altitude look kind of funny.
Tropical altitude's a little
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, in some ways it is higher. Like Bogota's 10,000 feet, which is where it starts. And we'll be kicking up around 14K quite a bit, but it hits a little different because there's a lot more humidity. You know, that dry air really gets you at altitude here. But I don't know, it'll be fun.
Very cool. Very cool. And so, you just said you're still planning out your season, and you stated your goal is to drastically improve upon last year, and to, I guess, demonstrate to yourself and also that you can race at that level. So I'm curious in hearing just navigating, but I'm curious in hearing what do your 2025 goals look like?
Ooh. I can't say I have a firm, you know, post-it note that says I want X, Y, Z out of this, other than just better. Yeah, I mean, the part that was hard last year was that, I mean, I know I can race at that level, because I have.
Yeah.
And just, you know, not just not fulfilling your potential, but not even coming close to it in a particular season. It's pretty frustrating.
When you say you've raced that level, you've won Steamboat in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so coming off this year, do you want to try to get back into the Grand Prix, like into the series itself? Or?
Yeah, I'm gunning for the wild card.
Okay.
I like my chances. I'm sure there's 30 other guys saying that.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's part of the fun. In a lot of ways, it's a good position to be in that if I do the first 2 races and it goes well, then I'm in. And if it doesn't go well, I don't have the burden of being tied to the series, right? You can go ahead and make a pivot, won't be chasing my tail the whole time trying to get points.
And so
like-
this is the reason why the season's not fully planned out.
Right.
Okay, I got you.
So if I don't get in the Grand Prix, it's just going to be Alex Howe's happy fun time. You know, get the passport out of the fire safe and just start going places and doing some big events and having a good time. Still trying to go fast. Because again, it really was frustrating last year. I mean, I had thyroid issues. We had a fire in our house. I mean, we just had piles upon piles of things that just
Those are two major things.
weren't going right, you know. Yeah, and I had some pretty major smoke inhalation from the fire.
Oh, really?
And so, I mean, it really jacked me up for about 6 months.
So just to talk about that for a second, so were you guys asleep at night or what?
Huh. No, it was... I don't know how much of the story you want.
Yeah, time. Go for it. I'm curious, yeah.
So it was like literally during my daughter's 3rd birthday party.
Okay.
So we had like 12 toddlers and their families at our house. And I went to the bathroom and it kind of smelled like somebody lit a candle and my mom was just in there.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, Mom, did you light a match in there? She's like, no. And I was like, Mom, we've been in a relationship for like 37 years. Like, you can tell me if you took a dump at my house and lit a candle. Like, but I need to know. Like what the heck? Because it smells something's. I smell something, you know. She's like, Alex, like, why would you accuse me of taking a dump at your house in front of all of your daughter's little friends? Like when I didn't do it. I told you I didn't do it. I'm like, Mom, it smells like smoke in there. She's like, well, it's not my fault. I didn't do anything. And I didn't believe her. I thought for sure she took a big dump in my house and lit a match. And then she wouldn't tell me. and then I opened the garage door right next to the bathroom. And yeah, 5-alarm fire. Like everybody
Where did the fire start?
in the laundry room.
Okay.
There's like an old fan in there that had been going and something.
This is not your mother.
No, so she didn't take crap in my house. Yeah. Yeah, we kicked all the kids out. It was literally 20 below that day,
Oh, God.
and yeah, it was a big mess. But broke my garage door down and put the damn thing out.
Okay. But you're saying inhaling some of that smoke, you felt the effects?
Yeah, so I had some like pretty. It was interesting because like my lungs, at the end of like 4 hours in or so of a race, my lungs would just like fill up with fluid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and for like no reason. It wasn't asthma.
So you were coughing stuff up?
Yeah, I couldn't get air in was the problem. And I was like, it didn't. I saw a couple of specialists and they were like, yeah, this doesn't really add up. We don't know what's going on. And then one of them was just like, do you have like major smoke inhalation?
Oh,
I was
really?
like, yeah, I guess I did. He's like, oh, well, box checked. There you go. That's that. It's like, how long does this take to get over? He's like, well, most people are fine after about a week, but most people aren't trying to do, 270 watts for 10 hours at Unbound while also inhaling a bunch of dust. So your guess is as good as mine, bud. But luckily, it seems to have resolved itself, and I feel good. Yeah, and things are coming around last year, at the end of last year, and
Yeah, so you had some very legitimate reasons
yeah, I mean,
for 2024.
yeah, as an athlete, a lot of times, like, you want to point to something,
Yeah.
and to the point that, most of the time it's a little bit BS, but you have to believe it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And this one, I was just like totally ignoring it, like, oh, that's not the case, and you're like, wait a second, that really screwed me up, like, that sucks.
Yeah, there's that balance between, okay, I had a bad season, fire all my coaches, fire my entire team,
Right.
find a reason. And then there's the other side of it is, how much am I ignoring is so much part of being an athlete, living in discomfort.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you gotta find the balance there, but
You want to pick out what you can do to improve, but you also don't want to be making excuses at the same time because you don't want to be that guy.
Right.
But at a certain point, there's both. There are excuses, there are legitimate excuses, there are and there are reasons that like Alex said earlier, may or may not be in your control. And you just got to identify what is, what isn't, what was, what wasn't, and kind of go from there, move forward with kind of all the cards on the table. And
so you said the last thing, well, maybe not last, but you said the thyroid issue.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a thyroid issue since 2018 or so. That
Oh, really?
it flares up here and there. And that was like thyroid flare up, and then add the additional 80% of like fire in the house, and I was like, oh, there's a lot going on here.
So,
oh my God.
I was gonna say shit, Grant.
Yeah,
That's all the gears.
I feel like I'm doing all the pushing.
We do have a little ring. Do you want to do a little ring?
So,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
is there any correlation there between developing thyroid issues around the same time that you left EF, or?
no. So like, it was first like diagnosed, so it's hyperthyroidism.
Yeah.
And I think it seems hereditary. I mean, both my grandmas had issues with it.
Okay.
But yeah, 2018 is when it first really was an issue, and then was able to like get things under control. And brakes.
You have control issues?
Yeah. 2019 was like one of my best seasons ever, you know.
Oh, okay.
You know, won national title, U.S. national title, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was just like really firing on all cylinders. So it's frustrating when it happens, but it's definitely, it takes a couple months to get things under control. But
So we were just talking a little about bike tech, and I'm kind of curious. So Grant, you were saying on your track bike, your team last year or the year before brought the handlebars up pretty high.
Yeah, all the cockpits on our Team Pursuit bikes. Well, one of the reasons is we're all on medium bikes, not by choice.
Yeah.
So we have
just basic bike fit.
So we have a ton of stack under them. Another reason is obviously aero testing. We've done a lot more aero testing lately. Our men's team has not been in the wind tunnel. Well, one of our guys has, but so we do almost all of our testing on track with like either a no-show or an aero sensor. And so we just do run tests. Like every camp we have like an aero testing day.
Okay.
Well, we'll spend a whole day doing runs it's kind of tricky because Team Pursuit, in a Team Pursuit you're gonna average like almost 70K an hour, or plus or minus 70K an hour, I would say. So it's kind of tricky because you can't really do much aero testing at that speed if you're doing it on your own.
Okay.
So we do most of ours closer to like 55K an hour, which is obviously not the same, but it's the practical application of doing aero testing at race pace is nearly impossible. We haven't really found a solution to that.
Okay.
But some of the guys, we got fit by a guy in New Zealand,
Okay.
who, partially because our coach is from New Zealand, and this guy, Justin, is the guy who did all their fits for the New Zealand team, and they're a fast team. It's kind of monkey see, monkey do at that point. But he put a lot of the guys on like really short cranks.
Okay.
I'm still on 165s, which is what I was on before. Some of the guys are on 155s.
Yep.
I've heard of guys going up to 200 for torque reasons.
Okay.
Because you're on a fixed gear, so especially for a standing start, you have a lot more torque capability with a longer crank arm, but it's that application, I guess, is so short that there's like pros and cons to the cadence once you get up to speed and what kind of gears you can ride. So the whole thing's a big equation where you're trying to figure out what's optimal, and sometimes it feels like no one really knows and you just have to make a judgment call yourself. Sometimes you can do testing and figure it out, but a lot of times that testing is so in-depth that there's not really time for it without it interrupting training and interrupting all sorts of things. So there's a whole, also bike handling is a big part, and like because we're on medium team pursuit bikes, when we do have all this stack and we're basically maxing out our reach extension, you have a ton of weight like over the front axle, and the bikes handle horribly in the bends where you get the G-forces, and so you're trying to like kind of steer the bike over the front wheel.
Do either of you have opinions? So, Ronin and Escape Collective has done some podcasts where he talks about, is there a need for road bike frames and TT frames to have longer reach, because of these reasons. Most people, a lot of people are riding more progressive now,
Yeah.
And the rider's mass is now getting way too far out front.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, it messes with the handling for sure, but like on my road bike, I've got a 150 mil stem on the way.
Yeah.
Because on my track bike, I have a 160 mil stem on my Look. I was on a Felt, and I was on a
Fellow bike long boy?
Yeah. On my Felt, I was on a 190 mil stem. And the argument was always like, you don't want to go that long because of handling, but the handling is already going to be wonky, and in my opinion, you can adjust to pretty much anything. But there is an argument that I would rather have a longer top tube than a 180 mil stem. So it's like, I don't know what the solution is, to be honest, but there's definitely a give and take. But
Yeah, I think somebody's got to build it and see what it rides like.
Yeah.
I think where we're at now, a lot of people are pretty accustomed to where they're at, and it's like, and for a lot of people with more forward positions, that means like a lot of weight on that front wheel.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it would ride like with something where you have a more forward position, but still sort of more inside the bike.
Yeah.
In the middle, better balance between the two tires. I think in a lot of cases, for a lot of people, it's actually beneficial to get more weight on that front tire.
Oh, yeah?
Relative to like a more classic position.
Okay.
Like real old school riders would go
You
super
get
far
slammed
setback.
way back there, and
Yeah.
you have like virtually no weight on that front tire, and you think because that front wheel slides out every now and then, you think, oh, I better get less weight on it.
And then we have the opposite.
A lot of time that's the opposite.
Thomas problem of the rear wheel washing out because there's so much weight over the front.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's pretty far up there. He still gets down hills pretty dang well. I can tell you, I've followed him a number of times.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's no slouch.
I think that's one of the tricky things though, is there's always give and take. And like on a track bike, you very rarely stand up. And if the speeds are so high, you're kind of always trying to be as aero as possible, and the events are shorter, so your position can be a little more aggressive, and all these different factors. But on a road bike, I think that's something that goes unnoticed, is like, yeah, you ride this certain kind of frame. Like when I raced for the Hincappy program, we were on BMCs. And I was losing my rear wheel all the time because I had my weight so far forward that, again, I should probably have just been on a bigger frame, maybe. That could have been a solution, but there was an element of the bike fit that was weight distribution between the tires, and it was not accounted for, apart from my anecdotal, like, I keep losing my rear wheel and crashing. So, and some of that could also be on me, and a choppy pedal stroke, and when I do sprint out of a corner and I'm going to stand up to sprint out of a corner and my wheel slides out from behind me, like, is that my fault? Probably part of it, but I don't know. That's something that engineers maybe aren't the people who are going to fix it. It's more nuanced than that.
I've heard there will be at least one new frame in the Pro Tour this year with a default 76-degree C2 angle.
Huh.
I don't know if they're doing anything with the reach to account for that. Adjust the overall frame. Back to crane planes really quickly. Something that was interesting, collective articles talking about Jumbo Visa's push towards shorter cranks, right?
Yeah.
What I liked about the article is that it was a deep dive, of course. What I liked was its conclusion. He was saying, the way to look at this is that Pro Tour teams have always been slow to change. Someone had convincing enough rhetoric to convince an entire team to change their methods. He says in the end, they're going to ride just as fast as they always have.
Yeah.
You know, but the fact that a Pro Tour team is open to that sudden of a paradigm shift, I thought it was a pretty, I like that conclusion, you know?
I do kind of feel like it might just be monkey see, monkey do. And they're getting their ass kicked right now by Tade, and they're like, yeah, we got to do what Tade's doing. That's the guy that's convincing them to all shift.
I think the thing that people underestimate is just, I mean, with World Tour teams, trying to steer that ship is so hard. You know, I mean, they're huge organizations. I mean, you have 100 plus staff members, 30 plus riders. You know, your warehouses got millions of dollars worth of equipment there. And to make one change like that, I mean, you're in manufacturing. Like, when you want to make a small change, I mean, it's not a small effort, is it?
When you have a pro rider come along and say, hey, can you change this one small thing in the design?
They're like, don't even talk to me, dude. Like,
I appreciate it, but man, that's a big ship to, you know, that's a lot of cash.
So I think the bigger factor is just like, so they're on SRAM, and SRAM making those cranks available. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll get you as many cranks in as many different sizes as you want. Like, play around with it, you know? And then it's simple and they're like, okay, then they have the ability to play around with it.
Whereas like a frame geometry change.
Right, that's a big shift.
That's a big shift.
So, I mean, I think part of the reason why we're seeing so much talk around crank length is because it is a relatively easy, you know, metric to change. Like, we don't talk about, well, not much at least, talk about, you know, where World Tour riders are putting their cleats on their shoes, right? You know, but for sure, I mean, the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, they've been moving further and further back. And so playing around with cranks is kind of an extension of that, I feel like. No pun intended, but.
I think that's interesting. I'm looking at the cycling public's gravitation to certain topics, like helmets, fabric, socks. Like these are, because they are relatively affordable, low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. Especially as a consumer, they're looking for those low-hanging fruit. Yeah. Whereas it's not really in the consumer's power to be like, we want 76 degree C-tube angles. Yeah. It's like,
there's also something,
who are you talking
it's a language
to?
most people don't speak, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good point,
And,
right.
and that's just out of, you know, just sheer volume of information out there, you know?
So switching topics, I'm curious, Grant, I'm curious about what does, and this is out of my own ignorance, what does the period between Olympic cycles for a track cyclist look like?
He's only done one.
It depends on the athlete, to be honest. Some athletes are very confident in their selection for the next one. And I would say I'm confident in the direction I'm going, but so much as I've been seeing, I guess, through over the years, like so much can change as far as who's in the program, who's trying to race track. Every 4 years you get a bunch of new guys coming in who are like, I'm going to give this a go so I can maybe go to the Olympics. And especially with the home Olympics, that's going to be exacerbated. So there's going to be a lot more guys trying.
But those guys don't have a chance against Grant. We all know that.
So
everybody knows that. Lying to themselves.
So there's like, for bunch racing, there's a technical aspect that I'm more confident in, newbies not coming in and just taking over. But there's also talk, every 4 years there's talk of all these World Tour guys coming in and racing Team Pursuit. And so I mean, I've rode at a relatively high level, maybe not world tour, but there's an aspect of confidence, I guess, that comes with having been to the Olympics already and having been kind of a leader in the program already. Whereas these new guys who come in, they're kind of along for the ride, and a lot of them aren't as good as they think they're going to be at the beginning, and they quit. So there's kind of a longevity piece that gives me confidence. But there's also, I have a kid coming, which is a new horizon for me. So I was talking about this with Alex on the ride down from Ned today. Like, there's a paradigm shift happening in my training, and I'm not okay with just doing less and expecting a better result. Like, I know that less volume is probably gonna be a large piece of the paradigm shift, just because I don't have as much time to go spend months or 6 weeks at a time on the road at a training camp, or like, I mean, last year I was home maybe 6 of the 12 months, maybe, probably less. So that's not going to be a realistic reality moving forward, and I'm trying to figure out right now what that paradigm shift is going to be and how I can not just limit my losses, but be better than I have been with less volume. And the volume's obviously going to have to come here and there in spurts, but I think for me it's kind of going back to the drawing board, figuring out where I can improve. And to me, it's speed and power development, so more time in the gym, more torque work on the bike, and then there might be a bike fit component as well. There kind of always is, especially on the track. We always tinker because there's significant gains to be had in the aero department and in the biomechanical department with gears and fit, and so there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. There's also a technical component, which I need to potentially race more, whether it be on the road or on the track. I think comfortability in the bunch, and again, something else we were talking about is I'm out of the bunch. I mean, first of all, I'm coming back from a crash right now that I broke my wrist in at the Champions League in November. So there's a component of rebuilding my confidence in that sense, but there's also there's also a component of,
as you talk about confidence,
there's also
we are getting smoked.
I don't know who's pushing, because I am pushing. I don't know what's going on here. He's coming back from a crash. Do all the work back here.
There's also a component of, the technical capabilities, which I don't know if I can mitigate that in the short term, and I don't know if I need to. I think right now it's off season. It's not really, I won't be racing seriously until August or September, so I'm going to take like a little paternity leave, make sure the family's taken care of first, and in a perfect world I come back and start doing some small races in the summer and then ramp up into the World Championships in Chile in October. So what does that freedom allow me to do to make myself better? And I think a lot of that's in the gym, but the technical component will fade. So there's always give and take. There's only so many hours in a day, and then you stack those days together into weeks and weeks into months and months into years. And we got 3.5 years to the next Olympic Games, where it's a home Olympics. We're trying to be medal capable, specifically in the team pursuit, and hopefully more capable in the bunch racing as well. So it's kind of back to the drawing board in a way. Like, I think I've made a lot of progress doing what I've been doing, but I need to change things, and deciding what to change is, it's fun.
Reinvent.
It's a puzzle.
And jump over to Alex, and I'll let you guys cross the center line here so they can see through Grant. Alex, what does your training look like this year in comparison to last year? We'll just look just at last year.
I mean, frankly, the plan isn't that much different.
Yeah.
The execution is vastly different. Like, I mean, my run-in this off season, this winter, hasn't been ideal. Hasn't been great. You know, I got a kid in daycare. You know, well, preschool. We're all getting sick all the time. You know, there's always weather aspects up on the hill, and even with all that crap, I'd say, I mean, conservatively, I'm probably like 10% better than I was last year at this time, you know?
Okay.
So I'm just like, this is great.
Yeah.
10%
You know?
a lot.
Like, you're like, what? Like, it's not, oh, I think I feel a little better. It's like, what? Like, who was that guy last year?
Oh, right.
I mean, that's where it's at right now. So,
Yeah, good.
pretty happy with that. And if I had this winter, this off season, you know, back in 2017, I might be a little frustrated.
Okay.
But coming off of where I was at last year, I'm like ecstatic, you know, and good vibes, build good vibes, you know, motivation.
So as Rand talks
Builds.
about the adjustment in his volume with a child coming, what was that like for you?
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of an adjustment. That first couple of years, it really didn't change a whole lot, honestly. It did decrease a little bit, but I don't know, you get a good mojo bump. I did, at least. Like,
Okay.
you get,
I hear that with some of the triathletes I work with as they become fathers.
yeah, I mean,
Sense of purpose.
yeah, as a father, there's only really so much you can do when they're really young.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, obviously, you try your best and try and be present and try and be helpful, but at the end of the day, yeah, I don't know, like I think for most guys, it's, okay, what's my win here? You know, like, how do I contribute? You're like, okay, I can be a good provider. I can kick ass at like whatever I've dedicated my time to.
Yeah.
And it makes it a lot easier to cut out a bunch of the bullshit in your life. Like, you're not like, oh, maybe I should do this silly hobby or side project, when you're just like, no, like, what's my focus? Like, how do, you know, what do I need to do? Because
That's
I
another
got a
trick
kid here.
That's another trick with me, though. I'm not the provider. My wife is the provider. So I think a lot of times I'm going to be a primary caretaker, and my cycling doesn't pay the bills as much as Alex's. So
Not yet.
it's coming.
It'll be a paradigm shift there.
I'm working on it.
Do
So
you see yourself jumping back to the road Seminole event?
I've considered it,
Yeah.
but there's not, realistically, it would be for the sake of performance gains, not financial gain. It would be more of a time commitment than it would be financial gain. So being a primary caretaker, I don't know that that's realistic. But time will tell. I mean, I haven't figured it out. And part of the figuring out this puzzle is the fact that I don't even know what the puzzle's supposed to look like. Like
Too much ambiguity.
there is too much unknown, and so I'm trying to take it kind of a day at a time, and we'll find out what the puzzle looks like down the line. And another piece of the volume, like volume of training is part of it. The volume of days on the road and travel and time with the team, especially in a team component of like the team pursuit, like you get better with diminishing returns, but the more time you spend with your team. And so at the same time, a lot of times your family is healthier the more time you spend with them. So it's like trying to find that balance of how much can I give to the team, how much can I give to my family, how much time do I need for myself to stay sane and stay happy and healthy. And yeah, there's the travel component, like I said, is 6 months on the road. Might not work, but if my wife can work remotely and we get Airbnbs at training camps and bring the whole family along, and maybe that helps mitigate that. So I don't know. We'll figure that out as it comes. But
As we check in this year.
what's that?
Have to check in this year.
Yeah.
Here's how it goes. So back to gear. Switching gears a little bit. Alex, big topic is tire choice in gravel.
No, nobody talks about that.
No? Okay.
Nobody talks about that. Yeah.
Moving on.
Go big or go home, you know?
Yeah.
That's where I'm at, yeah.
So what's your take on 2.1 inch in your gravel races?
You know, frankly, I would do it if I could fit them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the numbers are pretty clear
Yeah.
for most of the gravel races, yeah. I mean, they're not fast on the road.
Right.
You know, you gotta look at the whole picture, and you know where's the race won, where's it lost, and then you know, because if you look at the whole race and you just say, okay, what's the fastest tire from point A to point B, you know, a lot of times it is that 2.1.
Okay.
But like, you know, if you're looking at a race where, okay, we're probably gonna have 3 or 4 guys coming to the finish together, and it's a finish on the road. Like, I don't want 2.1 sprinting, you know. So I don't know. There's a lot to it, but in general, yeah, bigger is usually better. That's coming from a guy that raced 23s like his whole life.
Right.
But
I mean, I was doing gravel in Wyoming on 23s. So
yeah.
let's just get all the roads are dirt.
I mean, the other thing I found at gravel that was kind of an Achilles heel for me
Yeah.
is not connecting the dots enough. Like, I train in Boulder, hard packed dirt, and I'm like, yeah, 38s are great. I don't know what you're talking about. Why do I need to go bigger?
Yeah.
And then no race is really like that.
And then you're like Grant size.
and then you flat every race, and then you
Flat every race, and you're like, oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you think back to that, you recognize the attention to detail and the tech side of things could have helped a lot?
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, like where the race is won, you don't necessarily, if I'm losing the group through the techie sections, what can I do to make myself better in the techie sections? Probably run bigger tires is part of it, obviously. Some of it's obviously just skills work and paying more attention to that, whereas the instinct for a lot of people is to just get better numbers, and because it's quantifiable, you can really track your progress there, but you
I'll
can't.
ask a question, if you don't mind, just to interrupt. I'm curious about your hot take on what. This might be something that your team is starting to do, so I guess I'm curious to insights that I haven't thought of and haven't seen. What do you think is something aerodynamics wise that no one else is thinking about right now that's maybe been on your mind or your team's mind?
Finding something that no one's thinking about is maybe impossible.
Yeah.
but that said, a lot of times the aero positions have been like, how do we optimize this for power development and aerodynamics? And again, it's a math equation. Maybe you can lose maybe you can lose 50 watts, but if you drop your power, or if you drop your CDA enough, that it's still worth it. And so it's like, that's one of the things we've been playing with, is like, again, the application is maybe a little different, and we're workshopping it, but like, we've been told to try dropping saddles by like 5 or 6 centimeters, like mega. Our event's only 3 minutes and 50-ish seconds, or hopefully less, hopefully 3:40 something. Yeah, I mean, it's not that far off. It's not biomechanically efficient, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. It's only a 3.5 minute event at its best, and so how do you you don't need necessarily, and I guess there is a biomechanical component to training in that position without shredding your knees on a giant gear.
Right.
But again, it's a puzzle. What can we play with that might give us significant gains? And the CDA can drop hugely with that, but is it worth it? And that time will tell.
I think the big thing that's coming is actually being able to individualize aerodynamics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's because it is so individual.
That's
Like, you
something.
I see that with bottle placement with the guys who are testing.
Yeah, I
One
mean,
thing will be 7 watts lower for one person.
Yeah.
Another person having a bottle behind them pointed almost straight up,
yeah,
like 3 times through the tunnel is faster. So to your point,
and it's difficult to explain. You know, you look
Yeah.
at them, you think you can explain it a lot of times, but it doesn't always translate, right? Like,
That's
you
kind
look at a
of
guy, you're like, oh, his back's kind of round, so maybe this other back guy whose back is round, he should have the bottle sticking straight up. And you try it on them, and you're like, oh, that didn't work. Go.
it is kind of a blind hill, but oh, okay, all right. But yeah, well, the individualism of the aerodynamics is another piece. Back to the low-hanging fruit, is it's not low-hanging fruit. You have to go and put those hours in testing every little thing, every head position, every shoulder shrug, every bottle position. We don't ride bottles on the track, but every little thing for every individual. And that's a reason that, like skin suit development for the Olympic Games, most of the top riders in the world have 3D printed mannequins of themselves in the wind tunnels, so they don't have to be there to test these things. That said, bodies do change. But
I heard a stat yesterday, a world champion level athlete, to your point of things being individual, for her, a $20 skin suit ended up being significantly faster for her than this $300 skin suit.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
We had that at EF one year, and it was very frustrating for one of our sponsors. They were like, we just dumped, you know. I mean, the single speed suit was, $300 or whatever, but
Right.
the R&D behind it was,
Massive.
300,000.
well, that's the other thing is
Plus,
like a lot of these skin suit brands have tried so hard to make their skin suits faster, and so they've made all these weird ribbed materials and different textures, and at the end of the day, a lot of these older skin suits that just have smooth shoulders with an aero base layer is significantly faster and than all the stuff that they've been testing. And so
It makes you think about how, like, we've seen, I can think of 2 examples. The first, not cycling related. We've seen companies like Asics and Nike make 2 to 3 different versions of their high-end, $300 shoes. Because there's people that respond differently.
yeah,
The same thing with, right now, you look at aero bike helmets, there's 2 to 3 options per brand for the same exact reason.
and there needs to be at least that many. And that's the thing is, like, again, from the manufacturing perspective, it's so hard. You can't, as far as designing something for the masses, it's impossible.
And then you have the consumers saying, well, I look like that guy,
Yeah.
so let me
Or I think I look like that guy.
Yeah.
You know? You're like, no, dude, you look like Jan Ulrich in December. You know?
Or it's I want to look like that guy, and if you look like,
I go back and watch footage, that guy was so thin, but he was, I mean, Liggett was calling him a diesel train the whole race. That was just fat shaming him.
Yeah, he was a specimen. He still is. But no, I think, like, with where technology is going, I think people are going to be able to measure aerodynamics on their own, potentially in real time.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's kind of been a dream for a decade now, right?
Wahoo tossed that.
Yeah, what?
I mean, it's not there, but that was pretty audacious.
Well, so on Garmin, they were like developing one.
yeah,
like,
you guys were
literally
doing that 20 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago. It was,
Really?
I mean, 15 years ago. They called it the Bat Box.
Oh,
And the Bat Box.
oh yeah?
And they had all kinds of sensors and like little doodads, and I mean, but yeah, the technology just wasn't quite there yet. But I mean, you can see it now. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
it is so cheap, relatively,
Yes.
to get like
sensor?
to get a really accurate power meter,
Okay.
really accurate speed sensor. You know, measure that wind coming in, figure out your angles. It's doable. Wahoo's giving it a swing. They kind of seems like they kind of missed the mark right now, but I mean it's all there.
Yeah.
And now if you have, you know, start throwing AI in there or whatever, it's like,
Right, we'll see.
like I think in the next
Without the errors and such.
few years, I think people are going to be able to measure that in real time, and that's going to be pretty cool, because then you can make the decision for yourself. You're not like just watching some YouTube video saying like, okay, that guy went to a wind tunnel, so I should probably do that. It's like, no.
And the democratization of arrows that aero sensors will provide is pretty promising. I mean, we're already going out with pros here, and we'll do March Hung style laps with an aero sensor, and it's so much more doable than booking time in a wind tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
Or on a track.
Yeah.
All you need is a day that's not like today.
The problem with that,
Because messy data today.
yeah, the problem is the messy data and
Yes.
finding 3 to 5 watt differences outdoors or even indoors. Like there's,
I think realistically though, for your average everyday person, even like World Tour riders who have never been to a wind tunnel, they're not looking for 3 to 5 watts. They're looking for those things that are like, oh shit, there's 10 watts. You know?
but on the track we're looking for 3 to 5
Yeah,
watt
you guys are
gains.
screwed.
Yeah, it's so nuanced
Yes.
that a centimeter movement in the head can change the whole data set, and you didn't even mean to do it, and you're trying your best to get these little gains, or you try these different skin suits, but your head's a little different when you're in this skin suit, or your shoulders are shaped different. It's like the nuances make the specificity very hard in real time, which is why the real time data, it's just, there's a lot going into it. It's a complicated algorithm.
Even right now, when we use those aero sensors, the analysis is all post hoc.
Yeah.
There's there's nothing real time yet.
No, it's always like at least a few days later to go through all the data and figure out.
Yeah. And removing.
It'll be before 2030 though. They have that figured out.
I agree with that.
I can almost guarantee you,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree
and
with
it's going to be, you're going to see people doing so much stupid stuff, like riding around with 12 water bottles in their back jersey, you know, because they're like, yeah, man, I tested it out. This is 48 watts faster.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, all right, dang
We
it.
had one guy in our saddle this year at Kona, Ironman Hawaii. He had 3 bottles in the back of his Wove saddle.
Yeah,
That's faster for him.
stack them up.
Yeah.
We got a guy on the gravel circuit. He races with 3 empty bottles all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it drives me crazy.
I love it.
Terrifies me. I think they're going to bounce out all the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, he thinks it's quicker, and it probably is.
I mean, in gravel, there's no rules.
There's no rules.
Like, just make a whole solid frame that's faster.
I want to race a recumbent and Unbound.
Yeah, there you go.
That's why I like triathlon.
Yeah.
We get to push
Yeah,
the limits.
yeah. And gravel's kind of a similar frontier. That's
I don't think I knew that as much.
yeah.
You know, I for some reason I thought gravel has some UCI constraints.
Maybe they do for the
yeah,
World
I mean,
Cups, but,
at the UCI level, but
not for lifetime.
everything else is just Wild West.
Wild West, I love it.
Yeah, you gotta sign the oath.
Like, man, we need to reel in on triathlon. I'm like, no. We don't want to do what the UCI is doing.
Yeah,
Well, look at cycling in the late 90s. Like, those time trial bikes were epic. Yeah, exactly. And Pinarello, developing.
Yes.
I mean, the whole basically solid frames. Even the GT Superbike used for the '96 Olympics, like that thing didn't have any seat stays, and it had like it was revolutionary at the time. And it's
Hey, it's still spectacular.
yeah, it is. It really is. And they were all wearing latex skin suits, and people. This Olympic cycle started to try incorporating latex back into the suits at certain testing points, but
can you imagine wearing a full latex skin suit?
I have one. I should have worn it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Ah,
Oh, God.
yeah, that doesn't seem very comfortable. Might be nice when you crash though.
Courtesy of Gary Sutton, my old coach. But yeah, it's one of the U.S. national team ones from a bygone era. Made by Pro Izumi, I think. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wish the mountain bike downhill guys would wear those things again.
Yeah.
That's so badass. And those guys are like running the freaking stupid helmets and like latex skin suits, aero boots,
Disc wheels.
and just like on these little 26-inch like wheels with these tiny little 2.1 tires and just going
That was insane, man.
incredibly fast.
You think
You know, like they got like an 80 mil travel fork, and you're like, what is that guy doing? Drop bars. You're
That
like,
was the Judy DH. That was the downhill for it.
yeah. Like that was some cool stuff. Like it really was.
You think we could win Unbound, me and you, on a tandem?
No, I don't think I'll make it 10 hours on this thing. I love Wove saddle, but I think this is in the wrong position for my body. Yeah, a little low.
Yeah.
Feel a little constrained.
You're in the slipstream now.
Yeah, not the crosswind. I did talk to Keel about doing some tandem racing.
Really?
For some of the races. It would be funny. I did that El Tour of Tucson. You know that one? It's like the largest group ride in North America. They have like 10,000 people out there every year, and I went down there when I was a good bit younger and jumped into it, and man, we kicked off and there were 3 tandems at the front of the thing, and I kid you not, they were chopping off and we were going like 75k an hour. It was insane. It was crazy. Like I was good. I was fit. I was like firing on all cylinders, and I mean I had no gear. I was doing like 110 RPM, and I was like, what is this? We're at El Tour to Tucson. Like, and look up there, and there, 3 tandems chopping off. They blew up. It was funny. There's also this guy in the middle of the field, and he was trying to get something out of his jacket, but his jacket was stuffed inside his bib tights, right?
Okay.
He's in the middle of this field, and it's like all these, a bunch of ham and eggers and, social riders. And this guy's ping-ponging around in the middle of this group, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? He's gonna get us all killed.
Yeah.
And I go up to him. I'm like, hey, man, you want some help? I can help you out. And he looks down. It's Greg LeMond. He's like, yeah, can you get my phone out of my pocket here? Sure, Greggy. I can help you out. It was really funny. But yeah, he's like, you just got to look ahead. I'm like, okay. That's your skin, not mine, dude. But I'm going to stay in front of you. Turns out he knows what he's doing, though. Still got it.